and it was dark, but we had like our headlamps and we were just trying to like trek.
But when you're talking about boundaries and things like that, you have to be willing to communicate that because
Processing things with the Lord.
What does Christian dating look like, and how can we biblically strive for a strong, committed Christian marriage, a God-centered, lifetime relationship? You want to hear other people's stories and ideas, successes and failures. Previously, we met Craig and Bethie. You're going to love this young and insightful couple who just recently became engaged for a lifetime marriage. Join me as we hear their experiences and recommendations for creative dates, setting boundaries, and how they were actually able to pace themselves, their mindset and emotions while focusing on honoring Christ in their relationship.
Okay, question number 4 is, what is your favorite creative date?
Mundane dates, which are the
yeah,
best.
like
They're
the
best,
routine
but,
ones
yeah.
for sure. I don't know. I really enjoyed when we made meals together. I think of creativity because they're like actually creating a meal and making that together.
Oh yeah. We went on a hike one time, but it was at night, and it was this hike I used to go on all the time in college, but I had not been on this hike for several years, and he had never been on this hike, and it was dark, but we had like our headlamps, and we were just trying to like
One
one headlamp. We were just trying to like trek through this area that like, turns out I was not super familiar with after all. But it was fun, and it was an adventure, and the night like didn't really go like how we thought it was gonna go, but it was really enjoyable. Again, just being with one another and making the most of that time together.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what we've learned here is if you're going to go on a hike at night, take more than one flashlight.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And if you're making a meal together, did you have anything that you would recommend as far as like meal planning or anything like that ahead of time? Did you have any difficulty with that?
I would say no difficulties. She's an amazing cook, so she takes a lot of that. She has like tons of cookbooks, so she's like, "What about this recipe?" And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I like food, and it's not a difficult decision for me."
Yeah.
So she kind of just picked up everything, and we picked it up together at times, and then we just brought it home and made it. So I don't know how much. Yeah,
I would just say like just maybe things too that you don't normally eat makes it more fun. So you can like there are things we've made that I have never made before. And that's been fun because then I know the first experience has been together, so that's cool.
Yeah, trying something new together is really nice. So,
Yeah.
All right, bonus question number 5 for our viewers is, a lot of the youth today are struggling with relationship, how to honor Christ in a dating relationship. What would you recommend to help them in their dating adventure?
I know it's a really big buzzword is always boundaries, but that is something that I think helped us so much and has made where we're at now so much more fruitful because of those boundaries being like not just physical, like also being emotional, like not imagining that we're going to date for this whole long time. Something Craig said that was really helpful at the beginning was, it's like, I'm only going to plan as far out time-wise as much as we've dated. So if we've been dating for a week, he's like, I'm only thinking of next week with you. It's not very helpful to think months and months out because you might be assuming or getting ahead of yourself. But now it's helpful being 10 months and thinking forward. 10 months seems reasonable as we're entering into engagement, So I think that's helpful. Processing things with the Lord first before taking it to your significant other can be helpful because then you're keeping him central as well, Then you're not as dependent on this person. You're first dependent on Christ, and then you get to share that with this person, Is that clear?
yeah, no, that's good. I think also clear communication. That's one thing, as I said before, she's really good at. Yeah. But when you're talking about boundaries and things like that, you have to be willing to communicate that because it could be very easy to just shy away from that and just assume what the other person's thinking. Mm-hmm. And she said many a times that she's had thoughts and may have been had certain anxieties, but then once she's communicated them to me, they've pretty much instantly vanished just because they weren't real or my answers were completely different. So just open communication helps you facilitate really like a great relationship in that aspect. So that and not pressing too fast. Those are my only 2 things. Great communication, boundaries, and not pressing too fast for sure. You have all the time in the world. There's no rush. And actually the longer you wait for everything, emotional boundaries, physical boundaries, all these things, it's an even greater joy later on, So it's really nice to have and has paid dividends and is really nice. So
very good. All right. And you talked about waiting or planning the amount of time that you've previously dated. I think that's an awesome idea. When you get to your actual marriage ceremony, does that suddenly flip in your mind that now I'm planning 70, 80 years, or are you still thinking of just like you're planning 1 year? How's that work in your brain?
Well, I would imagine, once we're married, the commitment's there, so we know that like Lord willing, like our lives are spent together for the rest of our lives. So we're allowed to spend, you know, there's no things holding us back. Like, oh, are we going to be together? It's like, no, we will be, Lord willing, or, you know.
So you're planning ahead by a certain amount of time based on the previous time is more of a restriction that you're applying to yourself that you can just release upon marriage.
Yeah, because the process of dating for us was seeing whether or not we were going to be engaged, and we didn't know for sure. But now that we're engaged and soon to be married, we will know for sure. So, you know, at that point we're free to just plan, you know, and plan as much as you can plan other things, Lord willing, of course.
Yeah.
So
There's a switch that happens there at the marriage ceremony. You go from thou shalt not to thou must.
yeah,
So
in
there's
certain
a lot of
respects.
things that change.
Yeah, so.
Cool.
Thank you, Craig and Bethie, for sharing your story with us. And if you enjoyed hearing from Craig and Bethie, please let them know in the comments. For more video interviews like this one, click here and check out this one for hundreds of my favorite creative date ideas.